Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Stone Cold Killers event, in which the Snow Hunter is added to the game. So let's get into it. It is a brown-red trait stone, and very cheap ones too, so definitely stock up. A couple things you can use that for is Lava Elemental if you are earlier on in the game, or if you're later on, you'd likely want to go for a Ragnagord and a King Highforge. Good majority of the brown reds are actually worth it, but those are the few that I'd probably go for if I had to do specific ones first. As far as the Snow Hunter, not really particularly good of a troop, though it does have something slightly unique about it. It deals damage to an enemy, then deals triple if it has Hunter's Mark, and then places Hunter's Mark on it. There are many troops that do something similar to this, where it places a status effect on it, then triple if it happens to already have that status effect on it. Hunter's Mark is extremely underused at the moment, and because of this, basically makes her useless in the current state of the game. She does that for 12 mana cost, which is okay. If more Hunter's Mark ever get added, she'll of course become a little bit stronger and will balance kind of into it. But in the current state, there's almost nothing that you use that has Hunter's Mark on it. But one thing to note is she is the second troop in the game to get a storm-related death. She creates a ice storm whenever an enemy dies. So as far as the interaction with this, for example, if you're using two different storms on a team, like in this team, they both have a storm. If we look here, Icy Death create a blue storm whenever an enemy dies, and Infernus, which creates a red storm whenever an enemy dies. The way that it currently triggers is whichever one is in the lastmost slot in your team will end up making the effect occur. So, for example, in this team, Infernus would end up doing the red storm. If we replace the other way around, then it would be Snow Hunter that would do the blue storm, and I would go regardless of where they are. Whichever one is furthest towards the back is the one that will create their storm. So keep that in mind if you are going to be using a team with multiple storms, though I'm pretty sure there would never actually be a team that you would ever really utilize multiple storms. You only need the one. So, event keys. Are they worth using this week? There is one particularly good troop that's in there. There is a Queen Mab. Queen Mab is the best freezer in the game. You also get many of the other options that are really good freezers as well, such as the Ice Golem and Borealis are also in here. So if you ever needed freeze option, now is definitely the time to get them through event keys. Though if you were to open event keys, the only really good thing I would say would be the Queen Mab. So if you want to go and try your chance at that, definitely do so. One thing to note though is Borealis and Queen Mab are both legends, so half your drops will be kind of useless Borealises, so do keep that in mind if you're going to go for it. Not the best of weeks, but definitely if you want to get a good freezer, now is the week to do so. So, event related things. We have the 10% bonuses, the 10% to all Glacial Peaks and 10% to all Rogues. There isn't really anything in particular that this is going to be too useful for, so that's kind of just not really much for the bonus this week. For the bonus gold, though, we have the 400 gold whenever we use a Snow Hunter in PvP or Explore, which is nice. End Explore, I should say. So if you use this thing at all in PvP or Explore, you will get 400 additional gold per battle. This is somewhat useful since you could put it just blankly into your team if you're running a super quick Explorer, or you can simply run it against 1 trophies in PvP or just anything in PvP as just your base like 4th kind of troop that you don't really need. So that's kind of okay. Not the best, but definitely not the worst, and I do like that it is in both PvP and Explore, so you're not limited to just one and not the other. And as far as the event, all you have to do is summon stuff in PvP and Explore. So that makes it quite a bit easier. As far as this, well, I guess you could do it in Explore just as easily. But let's go do the teams for them then. I ended up doing both of mine in just PvP because I'm so used to doing it just for the extra bit of gold and stuff. I generally just run it on whatever the weakest thing is here. And if it's not weak, you just keep repicking until you get a ridiculously low score and then just fight against that. So, for the farming team, for how we're going to farm summons, there are many different ways that you can do this. I'm going to be going the Princess Elspeth route. I personally find that this is just one of the easiest ways to do it. Really, anything that has a summoner would be pretty sufficient. You might even get enough. You only have to do 200 of them. So there's a good chance that you would end up getting enough just by constantly running whatever your team is, just happening to be using a summoner on it. So we'll just keep throwing these on last slots. Ideally, we would keep triggering this on colors that we need, and we're getting actually pretty lucky in doing so. Unfortunately, that ended up missing there. And if we end up losing our first slot, it's not going to really matter much at all, simply because we of course are going to be able to just use Christine X, which would then net us a summon there as well. So not really too worried if this goes down. Might actually be somewhat helpful for us because we'd get one additional summon in. So that is almost down. At this rate, we almost just might as well wait for it. That, or we could just end out the battle real soon. But I think we'll go for one more summon out of it if we can. So we will go for that, throw down last slots, and down it goes. Maybe we'll get a poke, perfect. Then we just go for a Christine X, and that's not enough to kill. Almost. One more Christine X will do so. There isn't really another way for us to easily get another summon, so we're not even going to bother with it. We'll just throw down another Christine X and then just be done with it, and we should get about, what was that then? Like 7 summons? 6? Somewhere around there. The first time I did it, as you saw, I ended up getting 9. I think it was about, like, what, 6 per hour? I didn't actually time it out, but nope, there we go. It's up another 9, just like the first one. Wow. That'd be fine if we keep doing 9 every single time. So that's basically something along those lines. Would end up getting the event done pretty easily. And look, we're almost up to the first 2 in no time at all. So we'll just claim our gems. The rewards to Saurian isn't really that good. He's one of the worst troops in the game, probably top 10 worst. So nothing really value out of there. But you do get a decent amount of gems, and you also get gem keys there all the way at the end. And of course, more keys and everything are always pretty nice to have. So the new tiger thing. Let's go use something with that. We'll go and just fight whatever our 3 trophy is. And the gold hunter, the snow hunter, or at least this week you can farm gold. I'm just running it kind of with the only thing I know of that's even remotely good with a hunter's mark, which is of course the dire wolf. I guess you could do it with the new falconer that came in a couple weeks ago. I think it was like, what, 2-3 weeks ago? I think it was 2. But that could feed right into it and would still give a mark. I don't really feel like that would work too well, but as far as color synergy, it does work. So you could consider using a falconer, since most of you probably already have one from the previous event week, but we'll roll with this. If you don't have a web spinner, it's not really needed. The base of this team is actually just direwolf, snow hunter, green seer, and then you just need to put one other green troop in the last slot. It just web spinner happens to work as one of the better options, so we're going with it. So right off the bat, you could use a Christine X or something there actually, because that would give you some summons passively too, but I'm not really too worried about the summons. I feel like that's going to get done regardless. So green seer right off the bat, nowhere to use it, and he did not get Devour. That is quite fortunate. That would be very annoying if he gets the first turn Devour. Not much is worse than that, so let's go take that, get some basic mana. I'm trying to get greens to align here. Him doing that should help us, kind of. He created more greens on the board, but not enough, apparently. We can do it on yellow, which I guess we're going to be kind of forced to have to do, so we'll do that. Ideally, there's more than 13, and perfectly there is, so we'll go throw that down. That gives a hunter's mark, so if we want to go forward to kill off the little tiger thing, we can. I think I'm just going to throw a web spinner, though, and oh, wow, that actually did not land an extra turn. Luckily, he gets entangled from that as well, so we don't really need to worry about it much. At this point, I almost feel like it's better to just go for the skull. Let's see. These greens, how they are kind of in the way of everything I want to do. Because regardless of how I kind of go about this, if I take the reds or anything else, he's kind of going to get green out of it. You know what? We can do that. That'll give us our little tiger. We didn't have to waste the thing, though he does get a bunch of other stuff, so that didn't quite work out. But he did end up missing ultimately, so I guess we don't need to worry about much. I feel like I'm almost doing too much damage to him compared to this thing. Ideally, you'd probably just put it on a triple threat team. I'm pretty sure if I was to use this like constantly in PvP, I'd probably just go with this standard Gorgoltha, Dragon Soul, Christine X. Figured I'd try something just slightly different though, because of course I run that almost every single time. I don't want to need to switch it up eventually. So now I think we can get kind of what I want to do, which is throw this into that, and then boom, kill like that. So there it kind of worked as I wanted it to. Doesn't seem to be aligning up as much as it could be. One thing to note, why am I not using the Winter Wolf? The Winter Wolf is actually a higher rarity than a Dire Wolf. It's also from Glacial Peak, so it's getting 25 or 10%, I mean, this week. The reason why I'm not using that is it only does a 5 gem spawn of blue, and that would somewhat work with the Blue Storm. The biggest problem with that is 5 blue is a ridiculously small amount and will almost always miss, which is the reason why I'm not running it. It used to be kind of good before they kind of did like the gem spawning nerf, but it just doesn't land enough for it to be viable anymore. And in that case, a direwolf just happens to always be better. Once they maybe rework that and tweak it a bit more, it might be able to be used as a combo. But as this current moment in time, I wouldn't really advise it, because it's going to miss way more than it is going to ever hit. Okay, so what do we need to do to end this battle then? anything really. Pretty much just take a skull, so we'll just bait him out on that or something. Oh, well, giving him a skull distract isn't going to help. I need him actually taking stuff, so he might give us a skull. Come on, go for it. You know you want it. Blue Storm is helping us a little bit. Not playing too big a role, though. Nothing else that's making the board a little bit more in our favor, because we do kind of need those blues to feed back in case we don't have the green to be able to utilize. He's still 100 mark, so boom. That was like 100 and something damage with all the multipliers that it had on it. And there we go. That's match. And of course, we do get the extra 400 gold. In many cases, it probably would just be better using a main team, though, compared to the 400 gold. That or just use it with standard triple threats. Like, of course, there is... Oh, wow, look at that one trophy. Like, of course, we could run something along the lines of what I normally run. I just hate showing it literally every time, even though I would most likely just kind of go into this team almost every time. What's it called again? Hunter. Something Hunter. Snow Hunter, I think it's called. Snow Hunter, where are you? There you are, Snow Hunter. Normally something like this is pretty much just what I run it with. And on this battle, we'll go down super quick. Though I don't think there's really much a need to do one trophies on this. I just saw how low his rating was, and it's like, oh yeah, we could just one-shot him real quick. So might as well. A little bit of a slow start though, gosh. I guess we'll just take the purple. Get the brown. Get a little bit more for the surge. There we go, Gorgolfa that. Get our kill, and then there we go. Okay, and then we'll just Christine X him for a one-shot, because why not? And there we go. And of course, we'll get our extra 400 gold for doing so. And a Blue Storm, which we don't even get to use. But yeah, you can do something along the lines of that as well. And anyways, that is the new event. I believe that's pretty much everything. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Definitely not the greatest of troops, but that Blue Storm that it has on kill, do not underestimate that. There is quite a bit of synergy that can be used with it. Pretty sure I'll be messing with it later with like Valkyrie and stuff and other blue related teams, just to kind of see how it will kind of pan out. Because any troop that ever gets a storm whenever it kills an enemy definitely has potential in color related teams to whatever that color is. Like Infernus is always somewhat decent with reds, she's always going to be decent with blues, and so on and so forth. It's an interesting mechanic that can actually end up placing a storm without actually using a turn, assuming you get to kill, of course, with an extra turn in some way. So definitely has a bit of a potential in that regard. So anyways, best of luck with event keys if you are going to be opening any of them. The next best time, I don't think, is for another 2 weeks if you're holding on. So feel free to skip this week if you already have Queen Mab and everything like that. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.